Servus and welcome back to another episode of the Pro Hockey Pod, episode 37. This week we're actually going to change it up a little bit. Had a last minute cancellation. That sometimes happen, obviously, too, with my new job. Busy schedule, lots of traveling recently with season games and also CHL. So, not always easy to fit these in, but this time I figured it'd be good to find something to do, I think, or a topic at least to discuss, when these things happen, whether a guest can't make it or I don't have time to connect with them, stuff like that. So I thought I would give it a shot this week. So it's just going to be me. You'll be hearing my voice over the next probably 20, 30 minutes. It's going to be a shorter episode. But as I said, I think it's good and important to have different topics to discuss. This week, I thought I'd start it off with you know, appreciation of the game. So that can mean many things, but basically I've put together some topics, some categories I would say that falls under, kind of share my experiences, whether it was something I've gone through personally, talking to people who've either been on this podcast, future guests, or just people who've been in the hockey world a long time about kind of their thoughts on these topics as well. And just kind of, as I said, trying to educate, athletes out there, whether, someone's playing minor hockey right now, coming up through junior, college, or in their pro career. I think sometimes it's a good reminder of all this stuff to kind of motivate them and let them know that, that this is a game that, we all love. At times it can be stressful. At times, you can feel pressure and stuff, but at the end of the day, you'll always look back on this time in this sport and everybody wishes they had more. So, as I said, appreciation of the game of hockey. So, as I said, I've made some notes and stuff. So just going to be kind of reading off those and filtering off those. But, yeah, one important lesson I've learned over kind of my time in hockey is always to appreciate the game, how good it is, and all the good things that come from it. Whether it's friendships you make, work ethic, kind of experiences that make you the person you are. I think it's always good to reflect on those things. And to be honest, whether it was from playing or now working in hockey, so many times I see, athletes taking it for granted and not enjoying it the way they should, which sometimes happens, right? Because when we get so used to doing something, the repetition of it, doing it every day, going to the rink every day, you take it for granted in a sense, or you think there'll always be the next day. So, for most guys there is, but some guys, something could happen and it ends, or the next season doesn't actually happen. So, I think it's good to focus on that. And as I said, there's a couple different areas I'm going to go into over this, and yeah, well, hopefully we'll see where it goes. If you guys like topics like these, you obviously can write to me on Instagram or on YouTube, comment a topic that you think I should go over. But this one was just something I kind of did on my own. And without further ado, let's go. So, as I said, there's a couple categories I've kind of broken down this appreciation the game into, not necessarily how to appreciate it or anything like that, but just more of I kind of wanted to go through kind of an athlete's career, and just kind of give pointers on each. So first one would be to young athletes out there. So, for parents listening as well, this is obviously important. You guys can obviously be big influences on your child's life in terms of, obviously in this case, in terms of sport and sport of hockey. But, for me with young athletes, the game is about having fun. I think it's as simple as that. Most kids, boy or girl, they start a sport, or in this case, hockey, because, it's obviously their parents influencing them to get into it, but they also want to try the sport, right? Maybe they have friends who are doing it, or they've watched it on TV and want to try it. So I think it's very important to remember that, for those, well, not just for those years, I would say probably forever, it should always be fun. Like at the end of the day, that's why we started it. That's why we do it. When it stops being fun, then maybe it's time to move on and try something else. But Um, it's also about the enjoyment, being a young athlete, going to practices every day. Um, these are times when you're first learning the game, crafting your skills, and the practice might always not always be fun. I mean, I've been there. We've done the skating practice where you don't see any pucks, and you're trying to figure out why are we doing this. But looking back on it now, 20 years later, how many ever years it's been, you understand that they were teaching you the fundamentals, trying to prepare you so that these are things that grow in terms of your skill and that can separate you from other people down the road. um as I mentioned, developing those skills, learning the game, I think that's important in young athletes. And if there's any listening, just it's not always going to be fun doing skating drills, but do keep in mind that these are things that will benefit you down the road, as I just mentioned. And you may not see it now, but trust me, it'll happen. um Another thing definitely is, cherishing things like tournaments. You know, Looking back on my minor hockey career, one of the best things about going, playing AAA, in my case was, the tournaments. You're going places, whether it's throughout different age groups, obviously, but I remember going to the Big Nickel tournament, a very famous tournament in Sudbury. There was the Pee Quebec tournament. I believe we had it in Drummondville. And then there's obviously also multiple other tournaments. Adam Liftlock tournament in Peterborough. There, I was part of a couple times. A couple times as a Pete, and once as an Eagle, I think, in Burlington. But these tournaments, like, there's nothing like this anywhere else. Like, there's no when you get to junior, when you get to college, when you play pro, like, there's nothing like this. And these experiences, it's starting with the travel. You're traveling with your parents or maybe a friend's family to 3-4 hours away to this tournament. You get to stay in a hotel as a kid. This is awesome, right? Like, this is, you know, almost better than a sleepover, I would say. You get 2 nights of it most times, sometimes 3, going away with your friends, as I said, because in the sport of hockey, a lot of times, your friends are uh people, that you're playing on the same team with, or you've grew a friendship with, or started a friendship with these guys. They're starting to become your brothers, the 20 of you together, 18 of you together, whatever it is at that age. And going to these hotels for the weekends, I just remember, you're playing so many games too, right? Like, I think you're guaranteed, most tournaments, you're guaranteed 3 or 4 games. And then if you do well, you're going on to the quarters or the semis or the finals. So you could end up playing 7 games in a weekend. So in 3 days, it's a lot of games and a lot of fun. That's right. As kids, especially, you know, we, we think about the games, we want to play the games. We want to have fun. We want to try to win, score goals, make a big save if you're a goalie. So having this weekend, I think, is crucial. And just enjoy it, because, as I said, there's nothing like it. Once you're out of minor hockey, it doesn't really exist anymore. Um, and of course, how can I not bring up tournaments without talking about mini sticks in the hallway? I think I'm not sure if the kids today still do it. I don't have any kids of my own yet, but I remember cherishing those moments. You're packing your mini sticks, and it was just as fun. You're playing the real games, but then it was just as fun getting to the hotel after, because you knew you could get together and create a mini stick game in the hallway, or maybe the hotel had a pool and you're doing something like that together. And it's I think it's really enjoyable. It's just kind of that camaraderie, I would say, that you start learning how to do or building at a young age. Having fun, as I said, and for the parents too, I think it's just as enjoyable. Like, you're getting away from maybe a tough work week, or something at home, and you're going with your kid and seeing how much fun he's having, watching him play both the games and have fun with his friends, in between. And a lot of parents, I remember, like, growing up, they would always coordinate, these tournaments and whose room are we meeting in, and whether it was a case of beer or just in general, like, somebody opening their room door, and everyone just kind of rushing in there, and you're watching hockey on the TV and just having good times and chatting. And I think it was just as enjoyable for the parents as it was for the kids. And I think too, as a kid, the reason why we love this weekends is because you hope your parents would go have a little fun themselves, because it allowed you to kind of be a little more free, and also maybe stay up a little later than you were allowed to at that age. So I think that's something, kids today, anytime you get a chance to go to those tournaments, like enjoy it. Uh, win or lose, the most important thing I think is just kind of that fun aspect of, being away in a hotel with, you know, 19 other teammates and their parents and just enjoying that experience. And speaking of teammates, just kind of what I just brought up was you make some of your closest friends at this age. I know for me, I played on two different minor hockey teams growing up. So obviously first was Peterborough. I met two of my closest friends through the team, and even when I moved away, we still found a way to see each other every year. So that's just kind of a bond that we built through hockey. And then when I moved to Burlington, I met another really good friend there who, we chat every day. Live see each other every summer, lived around the corner from each other. So these are, you know, because of this sport, because of, you know, especially at the minor hockey, because of, how much time you guys spend together, you create these friendships, these bonds, and, they end up lasting forever, which I think is really important. You also see these guys, some of them you might go to the same school with. And, I think that obviously is a bonus when you can go to someone who has the kind of the same schedule as you going to the same school, because you know that every night after school or on weekends, you got these games or these practices. So it's just something to kind of relate to. And school is not easy either fitting in sometimes, but it's nice to know someone that's kind of in the same situation as you. Um, and then just kind of what one other thing I'd like to talk about with the young athletes here before we go on to topic number two. And I've stressed this multiple times on the podcast. Guests have stressed this too, is do other things. I can't say it enough. I'm just beating the same drum here. I'm sounding repetitive, but so many athletes who have had good careers or um, have had success in the sport of hockey, I would say, and I'm sure it's the same for other sports as well, is you can't focus on hockey 24/7. It's not healthy. It's not good for both your body and your brain. It's nice to have a break. So whether it's, like multiple guests have said, play hockey during the year, and then in the summer it's, I'm going to go play baseball, or I'm going to swim, or I'm going to go to my cottage for the summer. Um, it's good to get away and just kind of refresh, I would say, rejuvenate, kind of let your mind clear, do other things. And then I feel like, when you have that break and you come back after, um, you're really ready to get into it again. I think, if you're an athlete where you're 24/7 hockey and you're training and playing 12 months of the year, you can really burn yourself out. And I think maybe you'll get through a couple of years of doing it and you'll feel fine, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. We are human. So I think that's a very good lesson thing to keep in mind, parents out there, young kids listening. You want to do other things. And, me, for example, I would play hockey during the winter and I'd play baseball in the summer, and it was fun. Still had that team atmosphere, the tournament thing I just talked about, but it was a completely different sport. Baseball obviously is good for hand-eye coordination. I was a catcher, so that was good for, reactions, glove hand, stuff like that. So in a sense, it was kind of training for hockey, but it didn't feel like it. And obviously you can still do the odd thing, whether if you're a goalie, you do the odd goalie camp or, the odd training maybe once a week, but it's also good to take a break from that and you just find other activities or hobbies. Even if I said, if you go play in the park or go walk your dog or, read a book, whatever it is, take a break and, kind of let your mind reset there. Then the second topic I thought is just important to talk about is kind of training, and it's kind of going to go back into what I just talked about with like taking a break, but at the same time, making sure that our athletes at a young age, kind of understand, how to train, what to train, stuff like that. So I think it's good, as I said, it's like I did with the first topic there of young athletes for training. If you're starting it at a young age, it should be fun as well. You're obviously learning how to lift weights, how to, um, you know, quick feet exercises, ladders, explosiveness, stuff like that. but it's also needs to be stuff that's fun so you can really grab, the kids' attention. Because obviously if you're doing something and they don't understand it, but it looks fun, I think they're going to be more likely to engage in it and give it a chance than if it's something that looks too complicated or they have no idea what's going on. And then it just, they're going to, like, I don't want to do this kind of mindset. So, obviously too, these young athletes, their bodies are still growing and developing. So it's good to set the fundamentals at a young age, teach them kind of how to train, what to train. And it's not a race either. I see so many kids, starting at young ages and trying to lift weights that probably are either too heavy for them or they're not ready for. And in the end, that's going to do damage. In the long run, create, maybe some, I don't want to say deficiencies, but, down the road, things might not feel as good as they might have if they had been trained properly or learned how to train properly, I should say. Muscles might not develop a certain way, or there might be little rips and tears already before these young athletes are even in their teenage years. So definitely something to keep in mind. And another thing is good to mention with that is whether it's 45 minutes a day or an hour a day, when you're in the gym or when you're at training, understand that this is time. This is your time to focus on what you're doing there. When you're at home, for example, and you're watching TV or you're doing homework, what are you doing? You're focusing on that. If you're hanging out with your friends, if you're swimming, you're focusing on that. So it's the same thing when you're in the gym, or training on the ice, especially in the gym in this case. But that 45 minutes to an hour you're there, focus, on that exact time in the gym. You know why you're there. It's to work out, to build muscle, to put on strength, to get quicker, whatever your goal is, whatever your trainer's goal is for that lesson that day. Focus on that time, put everything you got into it, learn how to be a hard worker, um, push yourself. And, if you're alone, you're pushing yourself by yourself. But if you're with, maybe one other person or other workout partners, push them, because at the end of the day, you're pushing them to take their workouts to the next level, to get in better shape. And they're going to do the same to you, because from experience, a lot of athletes in general are competitive. So it's a healthy competition, and you want to be stronger, faster, smarter even than the guy next to you. So I think it's definitely a lesson there. Another thing would probably be nutrition as well. This is something, I think it's good to learn it at a young age. I'm not saying you have to be on a diet or steady nutrition plan, at 12 years old, but it's good to, like, kind of educate yourself or educate your kids, just kind of, here are some good foods to eat, before a workout or before a training session, or make sure you're getting your nutrients every day, fruits, veggies, everything like that, because, it allows you to just kind of have a solid base, I would say, for later in life. You'll understand how to eat, what foods to maybe not eat too much of, what foods to eat a little more of, kind of stuff like that. And even with saying that, I still think, on the other side, it's good to have a cheat day once in a while. At the end of the day, you're a kid, or you're a human being. You want to enjoy your life. Like, you shouldn't be, never eating fast food, I should say, or never eating something sweet. Like, at the end of the day, you're human. Um, should be able to reward yourself for all the hard work you're putting in, and just enjoy life. That's what I say. And I've seen so many athletes kind of go one way where, everything's calculated. If you ask them to, hey, let's go get ice cream or something, and they're saying, no, I can't eat that. Like, it's, I look at some of these kids and I'm like, you're 15 years old, man. Like, live a little, like, it's, whether you make it or not, and whatever your goal isn't going to be because you just had this ice cream tonight. Now, if you're eating ice cream every day, 2 times a day for a year or 2 years or something, yeah, then it's going to affect you. But if you're having an ice cream once a week or something, or, it also depends on your body type, your genetics as well. But just in general, I think there's, you know, me, myself, I know, I love chocolate. Every day I have, the chocolates like comes in like the blocks. There's like 2 rows of like blocks, and I break off one of those, columns, I would say. So it's 2 pieces, and it's dark chocolate, so it's a little healthier, I would say, or that's what I tell myself, but that's my sweetness, I would say, to chocolate. And then, yeah, definitely, some days if I want an ice cream, or if I want, maybe something a little more stronger, a chocolate bar or whatever, like, I'll have it. Um, not to say that I'm in the best shape by any means, but at this point in my life, I definitely, work out 4 days a week, try to keep in good shape, I'd say. But I still know that I want to enjoy myself. And especially these athletes, when you're training and when you're young, you're able to you burn so much and gain so little. So stuff like that is just to keep in mind there with nutrition. And also, just as I said, be accountable. Like, you want to treat yourself, but don't overdo it. So that's kind of one of the things I see very commonly now. And yeah, I guess that's my 2 cents on it. I'm by no means educated on the nutrition sense. I didn't go to university for that. I don't have a degree of any sort in that. So this is just my opinion, what I've seen throughout my years of playing and working in the business. So far we've talked about 2 of the 5 categories, I would say, that I kind of came up with. So um, on to the third one now. So athletes, hockey players growing up, I would say, you get to a certain point where you're not young athletes anymore, or young as in, kids. Now we're talking about the kind of junior college times. So as many of you know, there's normally 2 routes, of junior, I would say. So there's the major junior route, so that's OHL, WHL, QMJHL, and then also there's multiple other juniors. So whether it's tier 2 junior, junior B, junior C, whatever it is, these are the different levels. And I just kind of wanted to kind of touch on them a little bit. And obviously for me, um, I played tier 2 junior and then went to college. So that's something I'm more familiar with. But I did grow up in Peterborough, had season tickets to the Petes every year, the OHL team. So for 11 years of my life, that was my Thursday and sometimes Saturday, going to those home games and seeing those guys. So um, could definitely tell you I wanted to go that route before not getting drafted to the OHL. So I feel like I can kind of comment on both paths. But um, I think this is an important, step for any athlete. Whatever junior you're playing, we'll start at junior there. Whether it's, as I said, tier 2 or, major junior, this is the next step for you. So as an athlete, so you're starting to play with older players. Most junior leagues, you can start in the league at 16 and it goes all the way up to 21. Some leagues 22. So, you could be playing with guys that are 4 or 5 years older than you. I know when I was playing, these guys looked like men. When you're playing against those guys or seeing them, and you're a little pipsqueak at 16 years old, and no facial hair or anything. These guys got full beards and, just jacked and whatever, but teeth missing. But this experience I think is good. Like, it kind of shows you, gives you a taste of what comes next. Especially at the major junior route. You kind of see the schedule that these guys have. They're kind of preparing you for life as a pro, after junior. So whether it's the practice structure, um, skill sessions each day, with some of the coaches. I know some guys will go on the ice early and then head to high school and then come back after their classes to do the team practice. Other guys will get their classes out early in the morning, maybe in high school, and then just go straight to practice after. It gives you a good taste too of kind of juggling that lifestyle, because it is, whether it's university or junior, or sorry, high school, it is a lot to be able to juggle both, especially the major junior route. You're on the road a lot. You play 68 games, I believe, so 34 of them are on the road, and some of them are 3-4s or 3-3s or whatever, and you're driving from Peterborough to Sault Ste. Marie, which is 8 hours away, or then you're playing Sudbury and hitting up, somebody else up there as well. So it's, you're away from school. You're having to learn how to communicate with teachers, um, get your homework, bring it on the road. Sometimes that's hard. You're on the road, you're on the bus, everybody's having fun. There's some kids, playing in your team that aren't in school anymore. They've graduated high school, and, you know, they might be talking about something or might be playing a game or whatever, and you're having to focus on algebra, which isn't easy on an 8-hour bus ride. So you kind of learn those time management skills, I would say, at a young age, which I think is very important. Obviously, you're getting used to traveling too, long trips on buses. It's never easy. Bus, it doesn't matter if you're 16 years old or if you're myself at 34. You get used to them, but it still takes a toll on you at times. So it's good to kind of get used to that. And, another thing too is a lot of these kids, making the jump to junior, whatever junior it is, you're starting to play in front of fans. Before it was always playing in front of, probably friends and family, most times your parents, and then, everybody else's parents. And then, that's about it. So, give or take, you might be having 50 people in a rink at a night, and then you're going to, for example, if you're playing in the OHL and you're going to London and you're playing in front of 10,000 fans, or, Kitchener at the odd, I believe is 6 or 7,000. So this is also a kind of an adjustment, a kind of a taste of what's next. Um, it can be nerve wracking at times, for sure, but it's obviously good. And another thing that comes with that too is a lot of these junior kids, you're building, so you're having to move somewhere, far from home, where you got to move in with a random family, and they obviously take care of you, but it's still adjusting to being, away from home, not seeing your parents every day. And some of these build families, you might have chores to do. You might have to cook some meals for yourself depending on their schedule. So this is stuff that's all preparing you for life, which I think is good. But it's also just kind of what I've all mentioned. Like, these are things you're gonna miss down the road. And, you know, we all go through them, and you just think, it's just another day, and stuff like that. But these are things you miss. Like, I know, for example, as I said, I played tier two in Burlington for the Cougars there for 2 years. And my first year I was still going to high school. And I remember after my first start in junior at 17, I beat a really good team and had like 40 something saves or something. We won 6-3. And I remember coming to high school the next day, and just to be clear, I was not a popular kid in high school by any means. Like, I was known because I played hockey, and people knew my name, I would say, but no idea me personally. And I remember feeling like a celebrity the next day. Like, this is tier two junior, I have to remind you, in Burlington. But people coming up to me being like, "Oh, I was at your game last night, or I heard about your game, and you did really well." And, like, these are things that at 17 years old you can't believe is happening, right? Because you're like, I mean, it's just the Cougars, like, but it's, so those are things you definitely take for granted, I would say, or you enjoy, and then you think they'll always happen. And another thing was my second year, I remember, I was done high school, so I was going to university, just part-time, so twice a week, taking 2 classes a semester. I think it was Monday nights and Saturday mornings or something. And the rest of the time you got a lot of free time. And I was very fortunate that I didn't have to work, because my parents said you're either going to work or you're going to go to university and start getting your schooling done. So I went to university, and the rest of the time, it was, whether it was, sitting on my couch and playing NHL, or going to the mall with buddies, or, going on the ice early and just like messing around. Like, these are things like, you know, they're starting to prepare you for the next step. But at the same time, it's like you miss these times. You think they're always going to be there. And, I tell this all the time. Like, there's so many times I'm going to say probably throughout this episode that I wish I could go back and relive that again, because, you just have a feeling. Um, I don't even know how to describe the feeling. You just feel good, I guess I would say. And yeah, so that's kind of my tier two junior experience, I would say. And I'm sure for OHL guys, it's similar, except on a higher level, because as I said, you are playing in front of more fans. It is the highest junior league in Ontario, and yeah, you get 5 years of it, and then on to the second part of this junior college section would be college university. So whether it's you're going to NCAA, whether it's D1 or D3, and then whether maybe it's CIS as well if after junior. I've said this many times. I'll say it again. I'm not going to stop saying it either. I'll probably say it 10 more times throughout this podcast, hopefully more, but enjoy the bubble life. Anyone looking to go to university, college, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter if it's U Sports, NCAA D1, D3, even club, enjoy the bubble life. It's fake life for 4 to 5 years, and there's nothing else to worry about. Like this, until you've experienced it, this description is so bang on, but you don't know exactly what I'm talking about until you do it. It's really a different world. It's like going to a different planet, and all your worries are out the window. Yes, I know people do work when they're in college because they have to pay off, whether it's their college tuition or, money to enjoy college as well, but it still is different. You're basically as an athlete, as a college player, your main focus is, you're going there for hockey. That's the reality of it. People don't like to hear it. They like to say, you're a student athlete. Yeah, you are a student athlete, but probably an athlete student because most kids there, most college students are, going there for the hockey, and then the school part comes on the side. But I tell everyone live it to the fullest. I'm not saying that means go abuse alcohol or anything like that every single day for 4 years, but do everything with your teammates if you can, other people you meet there, like just have a good time. There's nothing like this after. Um, yeah, like pro hockey's awesome. Anyone will tell you this. I have friends who played NHL. They made it to the ultimate goal, but there's nothing like college hockey. The bond you make, the 4 years, the fake life, as I said, just kind of the bubble you live in where, everything's all accessible, whether it's, the rink, school, friends, parties, whatever it is, it's all there. You have the unique schedule, as I kind of referenced in the junior uh, side as well, you're doing school, whether it's you go on the ice early in the morning and then you're doing your classes and then coming back for a team practice, or you do your classes in the morning and then by the afternoon it's time for team practice. That's kind of your life. And then, weekend games. So you're always playing Friday, Saturday. Um, and then, after that Saturday game, if you're at home, you're probably going out with the boys and or the girls, I would say, if you're on the women's side. Um, Going out with your teammates, you're gonna go have a good time, enjoy kind of your college life, and feel like a normal student too, because that's another thing I tell a lot of people is, when you're an athlete, it's a tremendous honor to be an athlete, but at the same time, with it comes, another responsibility that I would say normal students might not have. Um, the time commitment, the work ethic that goes into not just your schoolwork, but now your sport. It doesn't allow you to enjoy college like a normal student might, because your schedules are obviously tremendously different. You don't have as much free time as a normal student might throughout the week. And so when you get time to enjoy that normal aspect, get the green light, as we say, go enjoy it. um One of my biggest regrets is I really didn't enjoy my college experience as much as I probably should have. I always was thinking about the next step, and if I drink tonight, I won't play well on Friday, which is 6 days away. And for whatever reason, it was in my head. And as I said, not to say I wish I would go back and drink 24/7, but just enjoying the experience. Even going out with the guys. Sometimes I would just stay in and kind of chill by myself, and like all my teammates were out, and even I didn't have to drink. I could have gone out and whether it was DD or just been around them for the parties, the camaraderie, the bonding, um, stuff like that. And, um, I don't want kids to look back on their careers and have regrets. I guess that's trying to what I'm trying to say here. Sorry. Another thing which is awesome, and I will say this, I don't know how it is in the major junior route, but um, Christmas time. So a lot of schools, depending on their semesters, but some schools are 2 semesters and some schools are 3 in at least in American college. And I remember being at Oswego, and the Christmas time was the best. We'd finish our exams, we'd go home, we'd have Christmas, and then we'd come back. I don't even remember if it was like, the 27th or Boxing Day, something like that. We drive back, practice a couple days, and we would always host a tournament for 2 days at our school. So we play 2 games. But the school's shut down. So it's literally us, the women's hockey team, and then the men's and also women's basketball team. So there's 4 teams at this whole university. We have the whole university to ourselves. Obviously, there's students there working over break because like the cafeterias and stuff are open, but it's just us. All the normal students and maybe all the spring or summer sports, like they're gone. They're gone for 5 weeks. Like school doesn't start up again. I can't remember exactly when it started up again. Maybe it started up in end of January, but the school is ours, and it was such a cool time because you don't have class or anything, so literally you're going to the rink for 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, and then the rest of the day you're hanging with the boys. At my time, we were really big into Call of Duty. That was when the first like zombies came out and stuff, and I remember just like being glued to my TV, but having fun. We're playing with all our teammates for hours and hours and hours, and just laughing, sharing stories, stuff like that. And it's just like there was no worries in the world. As I said, building that camaraderie, tightening our bond as a unit and as a family. And these are times when I really think of college. Like that's what I look back on and miss. Is just kind of that Christmas schedule. We would sometimes then go back home for another week and come back, and then you got 3 weeks of games, and again you're alone there with 3 other teams. So um, for anyone who's in college, you'll know what I'm talking about. For anyone who's planning on going to college, at least on the state side, that part with the school stopping, something to look forward to. Let me tell you, because it's awesome. Um, you know, I don't think Christmas has ever been the same for me ever since. It's just a different feeling. But yeah, a little insight for you guys and girls listening. And I hope down the road, I hope I hear some stories back and somebody, shares their experience as well, and just kind of relates to what I'm talking about. But now, next section, I would say we're going to talk about pro hockey. As I mentioned, college is fake life. It's a bubble that you'll never get back. And some athletes, it doesn't matter the sport, but in this case, we'll talk about hockey. Everybody wants to try to go play pro, I would say, if they have the desire. And I say go do it. Playing pro was awesome. I was fortunate enough to play, real pro for 7 years, but I also played some lower pro for and a couple others. So I don't know how many years I was at, maybe nine years. And now I'm very fortunate to work in pro hockey. I have been for the past 5 years. So um, the biggest thing, and maybe the other topics, I kind of got off topic of how I started this podcast, but be grateful. It doesn't matter where you're going. If you're going to play in the FHL, if you're going to play in the SP, if you're going to Europe and playing in a third league or a second league or a first league, but maybe it's in France, and France isn't known for their hockey, or Poland or something, and obviously it's not the DEL or the top Swiss league or the KHL. It doesn't matter. Be grateful, because the truth is one day it all ends. whether it ends when you graduate college, whether it ends after junior, whether it ends after 1 year in pro, whether after 5, 10, it ends. And this is important to keep in mind. All those young athletes out there, please listen to this. I know I harp it. I know I say and repeat myself 1,000 times, but until you've been there, you won't fully understand. It's kind of that saying that your parents tell you, you never know what you have until it's gone, and you just laugh when they say it, but it's true. Unfortunately, we can't play forever. Our bodies will not allow us to. And sometimes it ends quicker than you think for multiple reasons, whether they're in your control or not. I just recommend to everybody, enjoy every minute. There's always going to be ups and downs. There's going to be some days where you're not feeling it. You're not playing well, but at the end of the day, in that time, you're getting paid or you're doing something you love for a game that's given you so much. And that's something just to keep in mind. I'm going to say it a couple more times throughout this podcast, but um, you know, that's one of the truest things I can recommend or advice I can give you. Another thing too, if you're in Europe or even if you're in North America, travel. I mean, especially guys in Europe, I can relate to that being over here. But once you get over here, like let's be honest, if you have to pay your own way over here, the most expensive part is the flight from North America to Europe. And then once you're over here, you have multiple breaks, days off. There's lots of countries are all close here, cities are all close here. Just talking from experience, like where I live in Germany, it's a 2-hour drive to Strasbourg, France. I think it's a 4 or 5 hour drive to Innsbruck, Austria, which is in the mountains. Switzerland is 2.5 hours to Zurich. France might be a bit farther, but my point is there's a lot of countries here. We're all surrounded, and it's easy to travel and go, experience different cultures, go see things. And I tell people to do it all the time because eventually, unlike me, my life has stayed over here, but a lot of people, they eventually go home and back to North America. And then it's, whether it is get a real job or a job in sports, but it's different and you don't have the access you have to over here. So that's a big recommendation. And, just kind of back to what I said of being grateful, give 110% every day, smile every day going to the rink because as I said, one day it'll end or one day you won't be able to do that, or you're doing it in a different side of it. You know, and let's talk about the job itself. So being a pro athlete, it is a job. If you want to be all technical about it, but the job is putting in 3 to 4 hours of work a day. And then you have the rest of the day to do whatever. Most guys it's show up, maybe get a workout in, get yourself ready for the practice. You go on the ice. Most teams practice for an hour, if that. If you're having a really bad week with a coach or something, you might get an hour and a half practice, but max. Then you can stay on, do extra after, and then, cool down. And as I said, you're at 3 to 4 hours and, it's time to shower up and then go get lunch. And then you got the rest of the day to do whatever, whether it's, hang out with the boys, as I said, just go home, kind of recover. Maybe you're there with, a girlfriend or a boyfriend or husband, wife, whatever it is. Spend time with them, spend time with your kids, spend time with your dog. But it kills me to see guys coming to the rink every day and just going through the motions and, it's just another Tuesday. I'll get through this one, but I just want to go home and play PlayStation or whatever it is, or their mind somewhere else. Like for me, it's, focus for these 3 to 4 hours, put everything you have in, want to get better every day and improve, put the extra work in. Um, as I said, you have so much time for everything else after. Another good thing about pro hockey and a thing to do, and one of our recent guests said this, and I decided to include it in this kind of pod, would be, take a moment and reflect, or just take a moment for yourself. Sit there, whatever it is. If you're sitting in your dressing room, if you're in your car, if you're in your apartment, if you're having coffee outside on the street, take a moment, just think of where you are right now. So, right now, my name's Andrew Hare. I'm living in Heilbronn, Germany, working in the DEL. Like, if you had told me that 5 years ago that I'd be working in the DEL, I would have told you were crazy. DEL is the first league in Germany for anyone who doesn't know that. But, from a guy with my background, a D3 athlete, I got up to the Del 2, which is awesome. But, it's been a lot of up and downs, and now I'm grateful to be here. Um, so things like that, just kind of look back on, where you are now, where you came from. Obviously, you're getting paid to do something you love. I'm making a living working in ice hockey. That was always my dream. Everyone's, I think, dream first, and especially at least in ice hockey, is to make it. The NHL, or maybe it's women's pro, or whatever it is, or get your degree. But now look at where at least I am, or where you might be in a couple of years. Like, these are things to always keep in mind and just kind of put into perspective, I would say. Um, I tell people, you're getting paid to do something you love. It's not a job. Even though sometimes it feels like it, even though the pressure might come, or like there's stress at times, and it's an up and down game. It's not always going to be great, but the most important thing is to be positive mindset, and just kind of remember, you know, this is what I'm doing. I wanted to do this. This is a sport I love. And as I said, one day, I won't be able to do this anymore for whatever reason. So you might as well enjoy it now and then have no regrets. Um, stress free too. As I said, this is it's a touchy topic, I would say, but there's worse things in life than playing, playing the game of hockey, I would say. And as I just mentioned, yes, pressure and stress comes from, whether it's internal or external factors, but keep that positive mindset. As I said, you're doing what you love. Um, Another important thing, which I think is good, just came to the top of my head here. Speaking of that, is you know, we as athletes, um, we work on our skills on the ice. We work in the gym. But what else I think is important, I think's become really, I don't want to say more important because I just used that word, but what's has more emphasis on it now, which but is such an important thing to do, is work on your mental health, your mental strength. Whether that's working with a mental coach, or maybe other exercises that you find it helpful to strengthen you, or even just relax you. um 20 years ago, it was kind of had a negative uh emphasis around working with a mental coach, because people would kind of put words in your mouth and say, well, that means that you're weak mentally, or you're not mentally tough, which is so false. You know, as I said, to get stronger, what do? You work out, you work on those muscle groups. Well, to keep your mental health good and to strengthen your brain, or those mental nerves, you need to work on them too. So there's nothing wrong with that. I see so many athletes today work with these types of coaches, and the the feedback is only positive, I would say. So I recommend to any young athlete out there, or anyone interested, don't be afraid to reach out. Ask people if they've used anyone that you might know, or that they could recommend, or even just do it yourself. I worked with one for about 3 or 4 years when I was playing. He got me at a really tough time when I felt like I wasn't going to get another job. And that year I ended up having the best year of my career, just because of being able to talk to somebody and just kind of work on things. And he also put things into perspective for me, which I, really appreciated, and I'm forever grateful for. Another thing I think it's good to do too, and it doesn't have to be just at the pro level. I just kind of threw this in here, was, set realistic goals for yourself. Um, as athletes, what motivates us is, achieving things, I would say. Every year you're playing in whatever league you're playing in, and the ultimate goal is to win the championship. So to get that trophy. So I look at that and I say, how do you do that on a personal level too? And it doesn't even have to be a personal motivation of, oh, I want to score 50 goals this year. It could be, I want to help my team be top 5 in this category, or I want to do this, this, and this. And I think it also will help you drive your work ethic and keeps you honest. Obviously these goals have to be realistic. I don't want people saying, yeah, this year I'm going to score 50 goals and then I'm going to sign a contract in this league. If you do, great, like good for you, but maybe that's not the most realistic goal. Maybe, set something to strive for, but also, if you don't get to it, something that, isn't going to bring you down. Um, which I think is important as well, because let's be honest, failure, if you want to use that word, happens. Um, but it doesn't mean you yourself are a failure. For whatever reason, it didn't happen that year, that game. It's okay. There's always time next game or next season, right? So this is something I think that's pretty good. I wish I kind of did that. I started doing it later in my career. Never, to be honest, it takes practice. I never quite figured out for me as a goalie what the realistic goals would be. Um, for example, I would, if I would say I want to this season, I want to have let's just use a number, 2.5 goals against or less. There's multiple factors that goes into to having a goals against you as a goalie, and then also your team and bounces and puck luck, kind of stuff like that, like things you can't control. And I really felt, one thing that kind of hurt me was after every game, I was kind of looking like, oh, I let in 2 goals tonight. So what's my goals against going to be now for the year, which I didn't think was smart. So it's going to take some time to play with it, but you need to find a way to set these realistic goals, things to strive for, but also not to, you know, wrap your whole mood around, I would say, or your whole season around. As I said, if you get them, great. That's a bonus, a reward. Congratulations. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. And, there's always next game, next season. Um, and just kind of talking about my pro career, I mentioned it if you guys listened to my episode, but um, I really wish I enjoyed the experience more. And I've stressed this so far through the first 4 categories we've gone through here is, I wish I lived in the now. One of my biggest problems was that, and I still deal with it today. I'm never satisfied. And some people would consider that a positive. They would say that's good. You're always striving for more. You're not going to settle. It shows you have a good work ethic. You always want to just try to move up, I would say. And yes, that's true. I do believe I have that, but at the same time, um, instead of focusing on what I had at that moment and enjoying that ride, I was always thinking about the next step. And a perfect example is when I made it to the L2 in Germany, my first year, I was just happy to be there. I'd always wanted to play in Germany. When I got there, the team didn't have an apartment for me, so they had to get a brand new one. Um, Very common in Germany that people, when they sell their apartment or move out, they take everything with them. So they took the kitchen, literally the kitchen, cupboards, everything. I moved into this apartment. There was a bed, there was a toilet, there was a shower with no shower curtain, and there was a table. That was it. There's no TV, no washing machine, no kitchen, as I said. So for 1 month, I was going to a guy on the team's house every night for dinner. I was buying lunch every day. Breakfast, I was, buying at the bakery. And you wouldn't have known it if you saw me every day at the rink. I was just so happy to be in this league, so happy to be there, living in the moment, enjoying the experience. I ended up having a really good year, as I said, the best year of my life. So the next year, come back to the same team. And because I'd had success, I started thinking about the next step. Well, if I have a good year this year, like I did last year, the next step's going to be the top Austrian league or maybe the DL. I'm going to prove to them I'm ready, which is good. But I put too much emphasis on that. So every day, practice. If I was letting in goals, if I, whatever, wasn't playing a situation, sorry, the right way, scenario the right way, in my head, I'm going, yeah, well, if you want to get to the DL, you can't do that. You got to stop that. And then what happened? That transferred into my games. So, I have a night where I gave up 4 or 5 goals and I would go, I come after the game, I'm going, yeah, well, now you got to get 3 games in a row with a shutout to get rid of that. And, DL teams don't want goalies that let in 5 goals in the Del too. And so I just started adding all this pressure to myself. And instead of just enjoying what I was doing, like I had the year before, being back where I was, somewhere that I had success, I put all this unwanted pressure on me. Um, I just didn't live in the now. You know, it's good to think about the future. It's good to think about the next step, but have that as a separate compartment. That's compartment B. Compartment A is living in the now, and as an athlete, doing everything you're supposed to do now, and more to hopefully attain that goal next year or whenever it happens. So that was one of my things, and I also struggled with the I always thought there'd be, when I was that year especially, I didn't put in the work and stuff, as I mentioned on my episode. And I always thought there'd be another year. Like, this year's not going well, whatever, I'll be back next year in this league. And the truth is I never was. I uh that year ended good for me, went to the finals in their team, but the next year I got 4 games and that was it. And that was the end of my pro career. So it's crazy how quick it can change from going from being one of the best goalies in the league to a year and a half later being done. Um, that's where, again, you just kind of want to focus on your ride, focus on that moment, and just enjoy it, embrace it, reflect everything I said, because there's not always a next year. And as I said, now transitioning into first the coaching side and now the management side, I see it too. I work every day with athletes, and you can see them, whether it's taking shortcuts or just going through the motions on some days because they believe, tomorrow will be there, or next season they'll be back here or in the league or wherever. And the reality is it's not true. There's so many guys that want your job and that are jealous to where you are, and they will do anything to get there. So how I started with this section 4 pro, be grateful and give 100%, 110% every day, and enjoy the moment, smile going to the rink, all that stuff, because you never know when it'll end. And that's my biggest advice, I would say, in general, but also to this kind of pro side. And then the last section here um is kind of, what I am in now. And this is I think this is good for, any athlete that wants to get into coaching or working in hockey, whether it's in management after they're done playing, and even parents out there, whether you're, you know, a full-time coach, or you do it part-time just to help out your son or daughter's team, after working a 9 to 5 job. First I would say respect for all those parents out there who do that. But, this is just something else. Keep in mind, now you're the teacher. As I said, it doesn't matter if you're getting paid to do this or doing it as a hobby for fun. There's lots of people out there that would love to be in your position. You're teaching now. So make sure every day, doesn't have to be um, an extreme one, front and back piece of paper, but, have a plan or a theme for each day. Um, doesn't matter if it's team practice or a goalie training session, whatever it is, you know, it's good to be prepared, and it's good to have, a theme ready, or, something you want to obtain that day or work on that day, an objective you want to reach. With saying that too, it's, especially for working with young athletes, I'll say it's important that they're, improving every day. Um, and that comes through, focusing on the details, repetition, repetition, repetition. Another quick story. When I first got into goalie coaching in Germany here, keep in mind, I didn't know any German at this point. So I'm teaching young kids with very, very broken German, probably using a sentence of 7 English words and 2 German words and hoping they'll understand. And I remember I had these drills I kept doing, and whatever these goalies were, I think they were 9 years old. And I remember after about a month and a half, not to say I was doing the same drills every day, but I would say every 2 weeks I would be circling in some of these drills, or rotating them in, sorry. And one of the parents came up and talked to me and was like, "Why are we paying you to do the same drills over and over again? Like, we watch these goalie coaches online and they're doing these 4-shot drills, and this is what we want you to do with our son or daughter." And obviously this is through broken English too, so I didn't get it, but I replied to them. I said, Why would I do a drill that, as of right now, the drills I'm doing, which you say are easy and really repetitive, your son or daughter is struggling with?" So, kind of like, why you have to learn to crawl before you can walk, or walk before you can run. And, sometimes that's forgotten, as as repetitive, some drills might be, and repetition is, the reason it is that is because, whatever the stat is, it takes you 10,000 hours of doing something to become an expert. Well, to be a good skater, for example, you need to work on skating drills, repetitively, just for to say the example. So I think it's good to have, repetition of these drills, find ones that work. And especially for young athletes, kids, we got to make it fun. So coaches, like, make it fun, fun drill, fun exercises that make it more enjoyable. And with that, the players will engage more. As I said at the start of this podcast, a lot of people start playing a sport, and in this case, hockey, because it's fun. They enjoy going to the rink every day because it puts a smile on their face. They like what they're doing. What's coach going to do today? What game are we going to play? And yeah, a lot of games at a young age are good, but it's also teaching them a lot of skills: how to skate, how to stick handle, how to skate while stick handling with your head up, how to shoot a puck, how to raise a puck, which is important at a young age. So, you know, as a coach, working in hockey, remember, you want to, even in the pro level, you want to make it fun. You know, Guys can work hard and we can be serious, but at the same time, there's, you can put in healthy competition, or, whether it's rewards or whatever, just to kind of have that extraness to it, which I think is good. And, um, you know, this creates, as I said, it creates good competition, but it also creates progression on whatever you're emphasizing that practice that day. Um, and also go above and beyond, continue to learn yourself too. Don't just, and I get it. Sometimes it's so busy with, if you're working a job and then you're racing there and you got an hour, and you might not want to stay that extra 20 minutes on the ice with a couple kids, or, you got somewhere else to be. And, or you're just doing this as a hobby. I totally understand that. But, you as a coach, you as a parent, you know, this is your time to teach these young kids, or to work with these athletes and teach them what you learned. So, go above and beyond and continue to grow your knowledge of the game, and also skill development, because those are two different things. Just because you were a good player doesn't mean you were a good coach. And just because you were a bad player doesn't mean you're going to be a bad coach, or whatever it is. There's always room to continue to learn, continue to improve. Something I see every day. And I'm sure many coaches who been in the NHL for 20 years would tell you the same thing. The game's changing every year. They learn something new every day. It's good to hear different people's opinions, perspectives on the game, skill development, situations, technique, whatever it is. So keep that in mind. And yeah, as I said, with my experience now, like working in the DL, I started in coaching and now I'm in management. And a lot of what I'm doing, my job is taking care of the team right now, planning, travel, food, scheduling stuff, helping guys out with any questions they have. That's my job. But my goal one day is to, hopefully be a GM. And, I try to go above and beyond now. I work closely with our GM in Mannheim, who's been tremendous to me. And, anytime he asks me, "Hey, can you watch this player for me?" Or, "Hey, do you want to go here and watch a game?" I'm not getting paid extra to do this. I'm not getting anything extra out of it. I'm doing it because I want to continue to learn, and I want to, you know, evidently show them that here's me. This is my work ethic. I'm willing to do the extra. You don't have to, force me to do anything or give me a reward to do it, in a sense. Like, this is I want to go above and beyond and continue to kind of grow my knowledge is kind of what I touched on with, fellow coaches and parents in general. Um, I think this is a good quality to have, and it's only going to it's only going to benefit you, down the road. And, um, it doesn't mean that because you do this, your son or daughter is going to make the NHL or the highest women's professional league or whatever. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to give back and also, help them hone their skills, but also you continue to improve your skills. As I said, as a coach, um, the knowledge of the game of hockey, and also even as a father, mother, whatever it is. So a lot of things were touched in there, but yeah. So that's really it for this one. I think we've got about I don't even know, maybe an hour, 50 minutes. I mean, I talked for a long time. I'm actually shocked at this, but and some of it I definitely rambled on and maybe got a bit off topic, but I hope you can understand where I was coming from. I did touch on a lot of topics throughout the main topic here, subtopics, I would say. But yeah, and just in closing here, athletes, parents, uh, friends, family, who's ever listening, it's a privilege to play the sport of hockey. It doesn't matter what level you are. Many things come from it. Definitely more than just the ultimate goal of a paycheck one day. In 20 years, you'll look back and miss the smallest things. I know I do. I've already talked about kind of the moments I miss. And as I said, you never know what you have until it's gone. One of the corniest sayings, but it's so true. I would give anything to play again, be in the locker room, be at college, as I said, during Christmas, just little things. Those are small things that come to mind, but, feel the roar of the crowd when you go on the ice. And, for me as a goalie, when you make a big save and just kind of the cheering from fans and from players congratulating you, stuff like that. So, yeah, don't take this sport for granted. Appreciate the game of hockey. Enjoy the ride. And, yeah, I wish you all the best on your adventures, and wherever this journey takes you, wherever this great sport takes you. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one. As I said, give us a follow on Instagram, Pro Hockey Pod. Follow us on YouTube as well if you want to see these live videos with faces, not just voices. And yeah, any topics that you guys think I should cover for the next time, whenever schedules don't work up, or whenever I want to do another solo one, feel free to DM me on Instagram. Love hearing your feedback. Make sure you tell your friends about this podcast too, fellow parents, athletes out there. And thanks for listening again. And until next week, cheers and ciao.